obviously I changed up the office just a little bit. I added some frames with some of my favorite photos. I added a plant over here, added this light over there, changed up the futon, added this cool pillow, and of course, painted the walls. You didn't know this, but the walls were actually this nasty dentist green color. Yeah, no joke, it was. And in post, I actually had to change the colors of the walls just because it just looked so nasty. Was sick and tired of doing that, and so I just painted it this neutral white just because it just looks better. It really does. But yeah, for the longest time, I actually changed the colors of the wall in Premiere Pro because I just didn't like that nasty looking green. I changed it to this neutral gray, and I couldn't push the colors too much because I was dealing with 8-bit video. In fact, in some of my earlier videos, you can see some banding in the background and it just looked real nasty. But that's the problem with 8-bit video. You can't push and pull too much of the colors or the exposure in post. You can definitely color correct and color grade, but you are limited because of the lack of data within the video files. Where with 10-bit video, like on the a7S III, you can push and pull those colors a lot more and a lot easier because there's more data in those video files. So there definitely is a difference when it comes to color correcting and color grading. But for the average viewer watching your videos on a mobile device, can they actually tell the difference between 8-bit and 10-bit video? So that montage was a sequence of 8-bit and 10-bit video shot on the Sony a7S III. Now you may not see a difference between those two clips right off the bat, but we're gonna bring those video files into Premiere Pro and we're gonna see how far we can push 8-bit and 10-bit video. All right, so now we're gonna take a look at some clips shot in 8-bit and 10-bit video. Down in the timeline, you'll see different colored clips. The yellow clips are 8-bit video and the purple clips are 10-bit video. So since these clips were shot in S-Log3, we need to convert these clips into the Rec. 709 color space. And so I'll be using my custom conversion LUT, which you can download in the link below, but this will properly bring this clip into the Rec. 709 color space. There we go. Cool. All right, so that's 8-bit video. Let's go ahead and apply that same conversion LUT to the 10-bit video. Oh, they both look pretty good. Let's go take a look at the 8-bit video. That definitely looks a little bit different. Has a bit of magenta in the shadows, which is interesting. And going back to the 10-bit video, that just looks really good, really natural. And also, if we take a look at the 8-bit video, take a look at the sky, you see some slight banding in the sky. And that's kind of typical with 8-bit video, just because there's not enough color data to make the gradient of the sky look smooth. But with 10-bit video, you don't see any banding at all. And all that is because there's more color data with 10-bit video. All right, let's go back to our 8-bit video and let's go ahead and color correct. All right, start by bringing down the blacks. And I'm looking at my scopes to help guide me how far I can go. Let's increase the whites just a little bit. Let's bring up the shadows, see more detail in the shadows. The highlights I could probably bring down a bit more. And as I do that, the banding in the sky is a lot more evident, and so I can't bring down the highlights too much. So let's bring it back up. Still see banding over here. So 8-bit video is not bad. You just have to be aware of its limitations when it comes to color correcting and color grading. That looks actually looks okay. Let's smooth out the highlights a little bit more by going to the color wheels. Let's push down the highlights a little bit more. Okay. So I don't know if there's much more I can do to it. I mean, you are going to see banding, but at first glance and to the average viewer, I don't think you're going to tell a difference. But if you are working with clients and you're getting paid for it, discrepancies like banding in the sky can make you look really unprofessional. But if you're a hobbyist and you just like making videos for fun, then maybe not so much of a big deal. But if you are professional, then this might be a big deal. All right, let's go ahead and color correct the 10-bit video. All right, let's go back to basic correction. Again, looking at my scopes to help guide me. Let's bring down the blacks. Just about there. Let's bring up the whites just a little bit. Shadows up a little bit. See more detail in the shadows. Let's bring down the highlights. And as I'm doing that, I don't see any banding at all in the sky, and all that's because of the 10-bit color data in the video file. So even with those basic corrections, this image looks really, really good. Let's go down to color wheels and adjust it even more. Let's bring down the highlights just to smooth out the sky a little bit better. Bring up the midtones. Yeah, it's looking real nice. So this is 10-bit. Let's go back to 8-bit. Yeah, that purple magenta in the shadows is throwing me off. And I don't really know the reason why, other than there's more color data in the 10-bit video, but very interesting that there's a bit of magenta in the shadows. All right, let's move on to our next example, starting with the 8-bit video. So we're going to apply my custom conversion LUT. Again, you can download that in the link below. All right, looks decent. Let's go ahead and go to the 10-bit clip and apply that same conversion LUT. All right, so that looks really good. No banding in the sky. And going back to the 8-bit video, very magenta-y, and there's banding and artifacts in the sky right over here. All right, let's go ahead and color correct. Let's go to our basic correction. Let's bring down the black levels. There we go. Let's bring down the shadows as well. Let's go ahead and bring up our white levels. Let's go ahead and bring down our highlights. There's some highlights over here we got to bring down. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our color wheels and increase the highlights. And as I'm doing that, I see banding in the sky over here, and the artifacts in this section of the composition is more evident. All right, let's move on to our 10-bit video. Let's bring down the black levels. Increase the white levels a little bit, bring up the highlights, actually bring down the highlights, there we go, and bring up the shadows just a tad. And I'm going to go ahead and white balance this. I'm going to look at my scopes over here. We're going to warm it up. There we go. We're going to change the tint just a little bit, increase those green levels. Almost there. Yeah, about there. That looks pretty good. And then let's go to our color wheels and make further adjustments. I'll bring up the highlights a little bit more. Let's bring down the shadows. There we go. Bring up the midtones. Looks pretty good. Check my white balance a little bit more. There we go, that's better. And after making those adjustments, I don't see any banding or artifacts in the sky, and this image looks pleasant. I mean, still could use some work, but definitely better than this 8-bit clip over here, which you see artifacts and banding. All right, so these clips were shot outside. Let's go ahead and take a look at our last example, which is a scene shot in this office with controlled lighting. All right, this is the 8-bit clip. We're gonna apply our conversion LUT. Let's go over here. All right, actually looks pretty good. There is a bit of magenta in the shadows, but not too much. Let's go to our 10-bit clip and apply the same conversion LUT. Oh, that looks great. Very nice. Here's the 8-bit video, and here's the 10-bit video. You know what? Let's just put them side by side, actually. All right, so there's a side-by-side comparison. This is the 8-bit video, and this is the 10-bit video. At first glance, you can't really tell the difference, and it is controlled lighting, and so that could also be a factor. There's just slight minimal differences, like the magenta colors in the shadow, where the 10-bit video just looks a lot more natural to me. All right, let's go ahead and color correct the 8-bit video. Let's go back to our color grading workspace. Okay, so let's go to our basic correction. Taking a look at the scopes over here, let's bring down the black levels. Let's increase the shadows. And over here where the wood is, I can see some artifacts and color noise over here. And so we don't really want to increase the shadows too much. Let's go ahead and color correct the 10-bit video. We're going to bring down the black levels as well. I'm going to increase our shadows just a bit. And as I'm increasing the shadows, I don't see any of that artifacting, that color noise in the wood over here, where with the 8-bit footage, you definitely see it. It's a lot more evident. So again, to the average viewer and at first glance, you probably can't tell the difference, but if you are working with clients, you need to produce deliverables that look as good as possible because you want them to be returning clients. And just for funsies, let's go ahead and increase the saturation for both, starting with the 8-bit video. It's gonna just increase the saturation slider, and I see all that color noise a lot more. It just doesn't really look good. Or let's go ahead and go back to the 10-bit video. Let's increase the saturation. And as I'm increasing it, I don't see any artifacts or color noise over here. But that is the difference between 8-bit video and 10-bit video. All right, guys, well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something new about color grading, color correcting, 8-bit, 10-bit, painting walls, I don't know. But thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Would love for you to be a part of this community. Hit the bell so that you get notified for upcoming videos, and I will see you in the next one.